The commander will identify where and how the UAS can be integrated into operations to best support your unit's mission. This will include describing advanced flight profile capabilities of SUASs, listing appropriate mission types, SUAS mission planning considerations, and describing airspace coordination procedures, along with personnel roles, training, and currency requirements. The Group 1 UAS systems are capable of much more than standard flight operations. Being aware of the advanced flight profiles that can be used with the SUAS will help you create a mission plan that takes full advantage of what these systems can do. If detection is a concern, the noise and visual signature of the air vehicle, or AV, can be reduced by observing targets from a higher than normal altitude using an offset flight path. When equipment and personnel are available, the system's range can be extended by simply conducting an AV handoff with another ground control station, or GCS, at a separate location. The Raven, Puma, and WASP-4 systems can also be configured for relay operations. This allows an AV to act as an airborne relay station for a second AV, significantly extending the range of your system. Keep in mind, when noise or visual signature are a concern, the AV can launch from a remote location as well, so that pre-flight and launch procedures do not compromise the GCS site. The system can also be set up and operated from inside a vehicle to provide mobile operation support. This can be useful for convoy security, route scans, or any other purpose that would benefit by relocating the GCS. Group 1 UAS have proven effective for many different mission types, including over-the-next hill reconnaissance, target acquisition, battle damage assessment, FOB security, and overwatch. Also, vehicle tracking, route, area, and point reconnaissance, and presence missions. For Group 1 unmanned aircraft systems, over-the-next hill reconnaissance is one of the most common missions. The SUAS can be set up and launched quickly, giving the ground commander situation awareness beyond the line of sight. The Group 1 target acquisition capabilities are limited by system geospecificity. However, they can be used to detect and gather information on potential targets, which can then be correlated in order to develop a targeting solution. In terms of battle damage assessment, imagery gathered before a kinetic strike can be compared to imagery captured after the strike. This obviously measures the effectiveness of the action on target. For vehicle tracking or mobile operations, an SUAS such as the WASP-4 or Puma with a gimbal payload is especially effective, but any of the Group 1 UAS can be used for this purpose. Group 1 UAS are also effective for route, area, and point reconnaissance missions. With the limited resolution of the payloads on these aircraft, it is unlikely operators will be able to identify improvised explosive devices already emplaced. Keep your team's focus on identifying suspicious activity or changes in terrain or road surface. A presence mission is simply making the AV obvious to personnel on the ground to establish a presence in the area. If a Group 1 UAS is only in that area just before or during a ground operation, it may alert personnel that something is about to happen. If an aircraft is flown over an area regularly, it tends to become part of the background noise as people acclimatize to it being there. This is known as desensitization. These are just a few examples of how Group 1 UAS are effectively utilized. This is not an all-inclusive list. These can be utilized in a variety of mission types. Innovation is encouraged, but operational risk management should always be a consideration. For mission planning, SUAS operators are trained to use the METTC planning process as a framework for any Group 1 UAS. Mission considerations include configuring the SUAS to effectively support the mission objective. Group 1 UAS are equally effective for day or night missions, but need to be configured properly for the mission conditions. Enemy considerations include addressing the enemy's capability to detect and engage the SUAS and compromise the GCS or launch recovery site. When considering terrain and weather factors, an important thing to remember is that in order for the GCS to maintain communications with the AV, there has to be a clear line of sight between the GCS and AV. Also, if the AV strikes a mountain, it is unlikely that it will be able to continue the mission. Address weather factors such as wind conditions, extreme hot or cold temperatures, and precipitation. Time is always an important consideration in planning any SUAS mission. Factor in transit time with expected wind conditions and leave extra time for possible headwinds or launch problems. Also, consider time for mission planning. Plan as thoroughly as possible during that time. If it's a short notice mission, coordinate airspace as soon as possible. Troops available need to be taken into account. Ideally, a two-man team in which both are designated SUAS operators will be used. AV handoffs, relay operations, and remote launches will require additional SUAS qualified personnel. Also, coordinate for an SUAS recovery team in the event of an unplanned landing. Civilians could compromise the GCS site. For unplanned landings, factor in an AV being recovered by a civilian as a possibility. One technique is to place a sticker that reads, "If found, return to a given location for a $100 reward." Label it in English and the local language. Frequency allocations must be coordinated with the Spectrum Manager before any SUAS is flown. Additional planning is necessary when there are multiple SUAS systems operating in the same area. Channels and frequencies must be deconflicted. To avoid interference, careful planning is needed in site selection, but with proper precautions, several GCSs can operate in the same area effectively. You'll also need to apply the operational risk management process to Group 1 UAS during the planning phase. Another essential element, airspace management. It will be your SUAS operator's responsibility to make sure airspace is properly deconflicted. This in accordance with local procedures, since every location will have differences in airspace procedures. Air requests will be submitted through the unit's air shop or JTAC. For resource guidance, look to any existing Group 1 UAS personnel at your location. There are many ways to deconflict airspace for a Group 1 UAS mission. This includes traditional vertical, lateral, and time separation. But the simplest and most effective method is to establish a restricted operating zone, or ROZ. The request for this is quite simple, and it minimizes operator effort when managing airspace. Once the ROZ has been approved by airspace control authorities, the operator will request ROZ activation just prior to launch. They will need to keep the air vehicle within its boundaries during this time, then deactivate the ROZ when flight operations are complete. For unplanned missions, it's likely you'll need immediate airspace clearance. It's essential that your operator coordinate this with the unit's air shop or JTAC for short notice clearance to fly. There are 4 types of designated SUAS personnel: an operator, instructor, SUAS evaluator, and program manager. The operator, often called an SUASO, is trained on one or more Group 1 UAS systems. Primary responsibility: conduct SUAS operations and maintain currency. The instructor, or SUASI, is an experienced operator with enough expertise to enable SUASOs to maintain or regain currency and trained to mission qualification events. This person was selected for designation as an instructor. The third type, an evaluator, or SUASE, is responsible for managing the unit evaluation program. This is also your technical advisor for operations. Designated SUASOs, Is, and Es are fully certified to conduct flight operations. They are required to maintain flight currency by meeting the requirements of the Group 1 TNR set forth in paragraph 116, subparagraph 9. The fourth member of the SUAS team is the program manager, or SUAS PM. This will be an officer or staff non-commissioned officer who may or may not be a certified SUAS operator. The SUAS PM administers the unit SUAS program. This includes maintaining training records, tracking currency, and designation status. The PM also coordinates initial qualification training for SUAS operators, ensuring that we have a sufficient number of certified SUAS personnel. The SUAS PM also tracks the status and location of the unit SUAS equipment. These personnel must be designated in writing by the unit commander for authorization to perform SUAS duties. Initial Qualification Training, or IQT, is a 10-day course. It's performed by certified IQT instructors. Students receive both classroom and flight training. Keep in mind, there are many similarities between the Group 1 systems, so once the operator has completed IQT on any of the Group 1 UAS, he or she can attend a 5-day differences course. This will certify them on other Group 1 UAS. All non-flight event training is available in a CBT format for self-study and refresher training. This is also good preparation for the IQT course. After completing the IQT course, SUAS operators must do Mission Qualification Training, or MQT. This is focused on supporting unit mission requirements using an SUAS. This includes employment of the assigned aircraft and training for all relevant tactics, techniques, and procedures. Regardless of how many systems an operator becomes certified for, MQT only needs to be completed once. If your crew has an urgent need for operational support due to real-world constraints, the battalion commander can request deviation of the TNR from TCOM through chain of command per the Aviation Program Manual. But please realize, any training outside the TNR creates a risk. By making this request, the battalion commander accepts these risks as operational necessity for mission success. Formal instruction and certification will still be required at the Marine's earliest opportunity. For incident reporting, you'll need the SUAS Incident Mishap Report Form. This is for recording all incidents, deviations, and violations of flight regulations, also any mishap information. The form is available for download at the displayed web address. This address is also found in paragraph 101 of the Group 1 TNR. In terms of maintenance, remember that Group 1 UAS are considered expendable but are not disposable. If it better supports your mission, it's certainly acceptable to risk the air vehicle, but every effort should be made to preserve the system's mission-capable status. Minor repairs should be done in the field. System repairs that go beyond minor repairs should be handled in accordance with the appropriate supply instruction. Finally, remember to accurately track component serial numbers and update system inventory when you replace damaged parts. The USMC Group 1 UAS program exists to support you, the end user. Improvement of the program depends on feedback from SUAS operators and commanders. Lessons learned or suggestions for improving systems and training will ensure that it remains relevant to current operations. Our goal? To make the Group 1 UAS program as effective as possible. For contact information, please refer to the graphics at the end of this presentation.